whatever seat you see. Oh!
Oh, yeah. And also, I'm burning my first slide anyway, so.
Oh, I should have done.
No, it's okay. If I'm going first, I can.
Yeah, you should. Exactly.
You should have got some. I got that's very close. That's a proper. That's the one that we say it's very good. This is and it's it's very.
How long has this been going on with other things?
Okay, be curious. Okay. So, welcome to JUTSU Corner Talk number 5. For those of you who haven't been here before, I'm just gonna briefly talk about what's this about, what's the setup. I will briefly introduce our guests, and then I get out of the way, and they take it away. So for the past few years, we've been doing a similar event that you just experienced on the outside that space outside of our building. And we usually, it's over food and whatever topic that comes up, but then we realized that we've exhausted the small talk and we wanted to elevate the conversation a little bit. And since Nima and I both kind of spend a lot of time in different schools, we kind of felt that there was a certain type of architecture conversation that wasn't really happening. And it's not the lecture series, it's neither the reviews, it's somewhere in between. A much more relaxed setting where conversations are often elevated and focused on the core of architecture. So we started thinking about the venue and the setup. Our office, which is end of a row house, a corner lot where the street does this jog, has this particular urban condition that has nothing to do with the architecture directly, but everything to do with why this little space outside of our office actually works. And we call it the Jaw Plaza. And we like this idea of a private space that can be used by public. From there, the idea of corners came very naturally. We decided that we asked every speaker to think of 3 corners, one tectonic corner, one architectural corner, and one urban corner. And they don't have to connect. In fact, we like it if they don't. And the idea is simply to move between different scales of thinking. From there, we also like this idea of the talks being personal but not too personal. That's why we ask the speakers to preferably not to choose a corner of their own work, but in the act of choosing someone else's corner, you inevitably reveal your own interests. You begin to carve out a territory of what matters to you architecturally, and that's what we like about it. But a lot of people actually chose their own corners. And one thing yes, they are. One thing we've tried to do in this series is always invite a guest from local guests and one guest from outside. This tonight is a peculiar one because Jimenez is both local and from considered international because he went to school here, but then also he practices and teaches internationally. And I have to say that Jimenez, Nima, and I, and Adrian, we go way back to 2004-ish when we went to what's now Daniels. It was AL&D. We went to school together. And we've been having these conversations for the past 20 years, I would say, in different cities, different schools, different contexts. The last one was, no, not Arcosanti. After Arcosanti, we did Helm. Yeah. Oh, and Cooper Union, yes. Yes, so we've been doing this for a very long time. So many of you already know Jimenez through Bureau Spectacular. his drawing books, his exhibitions, and teaching. Through these different forms of work, he develops a way of thinking about architecture through storytelling, blurring the boundaries between fiction, representation, and built environment. When we were thinking about who we can pair Jimenez with, Miles was the clear choice. Well, not so clear. We were concerned, but as soon as we saw, well, actually, firstly,
For Miles?
The obscure
no,
choice.
we weren't sure if it's gonna work, but
Never.
many of when we saw the first image of the corners that they sent over, we were like, okay, we made the right pairing. Many of you know Miles through common account, his exhibitions, teaching and research, and perhaps his exciting Instagram page. His work moves between FOMO, like that's like a FOMO generation. His work moves between architecture, visual arts, and design, examining the cultural rituals, technologies, and systems that quietly shapes everyday life. And we're really happy to have them both here today. One thing that was really fun over the past couple of weeks was to see the conversation between these two, and even before they met, and they were exchanging corners. They were making terrible corner jokes. Thank you, and try to even break the format of the talk from the get-go, even before it started. And I think those WhatsApp conversations that happen on two different parallels. One is food with Andrea and Forno Cultura, and one is on architecture, is the best part of these talks. And I think that what you see tonight, both outside and right now, is just the public part of those conversations. The conversation starts a few weeks before the talk, and it usually continues a few weeks after, or even some of them still are ongoing, like the one with Robert. So that's my favorite part of these talks. And we honestly don't know what tonight's conversation is going to be, and that's exactly what we're excited about. I would like to thank Andrea for the feast we had outside. As always. And without further ado, I leave it to you guys.
Okay, great.
Perfect. Should we need some kind of...
How do you turn this on?
Yeah. It's going to be in your
You're on
eyes.
spot.
Okay,
You're on
okay,
spot,
okay.
Are you connected? Yes.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
We should have done this before.
Yeah.
No, it was good. No. Perfect timing. Timing is very delicate.
Wait, it's not.
That's not your first slide?
No.
No, it shouldn't be your first slide. Should we move this back?
You
so
guys
that
subscribe
it's all
to
on the
Jimenes?
paper? It's not on the page.
That's our major news out.
Nick, could you move this
Yes.
back?
Yes. Move it back.
Oh, but this
Okay,
is...
but
But it's more about connection. No, not
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Oh.
there we go. There we are. There we are.
Hello.
There we are. Okay. همه جان من سعید اعتمادی هستم چطور خوبی؟ I speak a little Farsi because, and by the way, I have an honorary Iranian. I have been named Saeed Etamadi somehow. But it is so great to be back in Toronto. I'm going to take an opportunity to just acknowledge this environment, this context right now. And I'll just say this, right? As easily as I can do. I love Toronto. I love Toronto. This is my home. And it is so good to be back. And it is so good to be with you all. And I'm with my former professors, with my former classmates, and the new generation of architects, a different generation of intellectuals. It always reminds me how great this city is. Whenever it is I'm able to be here, to be reminded of this context that I was brought up in. Right? It was just like this, except it's you this time. Right? Anyway, JUTSU talk. I will do this as quickly as I can because I want to hear Miles' presentation too.
There's no time.
Today I will be talking about three corners. Unfortunately, with apologies, Michelle declared Michel de Klerk was going to make it, but he didn't. For those of you who know the Amsterdam school, he was going to be one of my. I just wanted honorable mention, Michel de Klerk.
And I was very excited about it. It was one of the first conversations.
Instead,
very nice.
I will talk about 3 corners today. One urban, one architectural. They said tectonic, but I couldn't. The best I could do was interior. So the third corner would be interior. Okay. This urban corner may be familiar to many of you. I left Toronto nearly 20 years ago, and I have not revisited the current state of this urban space. Nostalgia aside, it is now clear to me that this urban corner possesses many qualities that we might associate now with what we know as North American postmodernism, right? An architecture of semiotic device, an architecture that communicates on behalf of humans, a sign, a decorated shed, a signal that broadcasts the sensibility of someone like Ed Mirvish. Contained within this urban corner is an interior of inexpensive goods, affordable, highlighted by a jungle of signs. Ed's honesty told you what things were going to cost. Ed also honestly told you he did away with subliminal messages. It is as though Ed's honesty was as revealing as John Carpenter's sunglasses in They Live. We might as well go ahead and obey, conform, consume, and submit. Don't just stand there, buy something. Ed's honesty is as transparent as slogans of a cultural village of political propagandas as Venturi Scott Brown drops the speech bubbles into their exhibition titled Signs of Life in 1976, which was a follow-up to their learnings from Las Vegas. This is a corner of a decorated ship. This is an architecture that communicates on behalf of a semiotic device. This atmosphere of consumerism at Honest Ed also predates the image by Andreas Gursky, an atmosphere of consumerism reinforced by an aesthetics of abundance. It speaks to the state of the economy and ideas of property ownership at this time, except late last century and early this century, effects of abundance and economy of scales means that there is a great deal of supply versus demand. Honest Eds is a precursor to this culture of purchase, right? It's an exhibition hall. This is an exhibition hall of inexpensive goods. Please hold that thought, because I will now drastically pivot to the next corner. This is an architectural corner, which may at first seem unrelated, but I promise you, it will be related. The Solo House is designed by Belgian architects KGDVS, one of my favorite architects in the world today. Is there a corner here? Oh yes, there's a corner here. Let me explain. The diagram of this project is a game of primitive geometry. Take the courtyard diagram and study the circle within the square. This is a stereotomic game of subtractively cutting out the courtyard into a space, leaving behind 4 symmetrical units, slivers of what's left of the circle. This is the second corner that I want to draw your attention to. As a result of this geometric game, an extremely sharp, acute angle is left behind, generating this corner, right? You couldn't have gone to architecture school without someone telling you about the inefficiencies of acute angles. In plan or section, acute angles are so difficult to program effectively or ergonomically. On reviews, I'm sure you've heard people say stuff like, "Oh, this is the dead cat's corner. This is the dust collector." You feel free to insert more creative pejoratives to what acute corners can or cannot do. Gorgeous, no doubt, right? Like I love this project, right? I love this project. Gorgeous, no doubt. I'm also happy to report that a couple of years ago, I had the distinct opportunity to be at a dinner. I sat across from Kirsten Gears, one of the partners of KGDVS, and I just had to ask. I had to ask him. I had to know. It's beautiful, Kirsten. It really is. This is what I said to him. But how are you okay with this? You know what he said to me? Are you ready? You guys sitting down, holding on to something? His response, how are you okay with this? Don't worry, they can afford it. Okay? Don't worry, they can afford it. This response blew my mind. My measly, feeble, working class mind. the type of pea-brain mind that cannot be accustomed to the clients that want, like I'm accustomed to clients that want to milk every square footage, right? They want the rough order of magnitude, the internal nickels and diming of the construction cost per square area, the kind of owner rhetoric of exchange of logic subdivided by per unit value added to the investment. Don't worry, we can afford it. How refreshing, as I have fought so many battles of net to gross ratio, not knowing people can just afford it. I came to finally understand this corner. When you can afford it, you can also burn square footage where nothingness is a luxury, right? A space to look at. This is a space to look at, right? This is an exhibition of vacuum where you don't have to nickel and dime anything. Just enjoy the fact that you have the space, and the square footage would mean this is an inaccessible corner for visual purposes only. Did I say that architecture is a semiotic device? This void communicates. This void is a contemporary form of a carefully crafted signal of more, of luxury. It says to me, you can come here for holidays. This is a hotel. But the normal you, you got pets, kids, jobs, bills, things. You can't afford minimalism. You can't afford minimalism. So this is the third and final corner I'll talk about today. Here we can see an interior corner of Sir John Soane's house. In log issue number 22, Professor Sylvia Levin published her essay titled Architecture in Extremis. In this essay, John Soane's personal museum is heavily discussed, and her central thesis is very easy and clear. What is the line between curating and hoarding? What is the curatorial work of that produces an exhibition, if not a mild form of organized hoarding? But let's bring us back to this focus, to a bigger question that we're asking today, which is the expression of wealth. Once upon a time, the expression of wealth is stuff, more stuff, so much stuff. Lest we forget, the cabinet of curiosity is the maximum per square footage of exotic goods. As though the wealthier folks collectively, they form a collective contract with horror vacui, where no surface may go unscathed without this display of something, anything. Horror vacui, or fear of emptiness, is a centuries-old compositional symptom where more is not enough. And for those who can afford it, how else can you go about the expression of wealth if not showing what you have? Andreas Gursky's 99-cent store, however, tells a different story about our contemporary socioeconomic transition, whereas there was once a time when the display of wealth is the maximalism of things. The enlarged middle class now allows anyone to be able to afford anything at a large scale, affordable quantity. Honest Eds is a representation of this form of the culture of consumption. Don't just stay there. Don't just stand there. Buy something. Anyone can afford maximalism now. In fact, culturally speaking, it is the income level dependent. It depends on your income level. Maybe you go to Costco, or you go to, you can't afford it. If you can't afford Costco, you go to Home Depot, and maybe we need to talk to Jesse Lecavalier, like about the strategic placement of Walmart's convenient landing in zones of poverty, right? Today, maximalism, the aesthetics of maximalism is you just can't. I mean, can you imagine, if you if you have to milk out every square footage of your house? You want everything. You want maximalism. But the partial relationship with maximalism, as some people process their own, symptoms of horror vacui. Here, I want to give a shout out to Claude Cormier, late great Canadian landscape architect, graduate of U of T, whose landscape of bears is a kind of like abundance, a kind of like affordable matter. A different form of maximalism. Maximalism, in the minds of people who can afford it these days, it's not necessarily exclusive to a single economic class, but it does require an optimization of things This is a public art company in Los Angeles where the founding member, Raphael, saturates his environments by parking as many things as people can't keep. Or other examples of contemporary maximalism include Freddy Mamani, a Bolivian architect whose common shops and party spaces transform in ways where the inventive opportunity here is the indigenous population are seeking architecture as a means to find ways for upward mobility, right, of their social class. This is all they can afford, but this is their opportunity to escape that. In many ways, we can say that Ed Mirvish honestly escaped social mobility by selling inexpensive goods in an outlandish way, by channeling the inner maximalism of those who similarly cannot afford to waste their hard-earned square footage. The Mirvish family now has turned their names into something of a Torontonian legacy, right? With all this said, I do look upon this gorgeous project with envy, because maybe luxury is the ability to resist optimization. Maybe in a world of maximalist abundance, some people can afford the economy of absence.
Am I sort of better off?
If you go there, and there's a sink there.
Oh, I see.
Jimenez.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll do a little
That's
dance.
better. And then Jimenez can sit here
Yeah.
now.
In the pantone.
When the conversation
All right.
starts, we're gonna figure it out.
Oh shit, hang on. I forgot to show you my final slide.
Okay.
Not the final slide.
I'm sorry. I'm just realizing I forgot to show you my final slide.
Mini Max.
No, you're thinking Newsmax. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, great. Okay. Is it? I feel like it's a little out of focus, but I think. Is that me?
It should be automatic.
It should all be on
It's
the
not you, that's a fact.
Definitely
It's not you, it's me.
Like, if it's in focus for you all, that's
No.
fine.
So let me
Should I?
see what I can. Oh, that's not anything. So.
While
That would
we're
be
doing
good.
this, I mean,
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just sort of reiterate what Jimenez said. You know, it's just so nice to be here with you all. Thank you so much for coming.
Good.
And yeah, and guys, thank you so much for organizing this. It's incredible. I feel like we probably met not that far from here. I don't know if you remember this, but just before I started grad school, you had an installation in a laneway
Oh yeah.
somewhere in the West End,
Yeah.
and I met you there.
Yeah.
And then I really feel like I didn't, but I feel like I went to school with you in a way, because, you know, you were so present throughout my own sort of grad school experience. You lectured at Princeton. We came and visited you in LA with Andres'
You did,
studio.
yeah.
And so this is so nice. It's a pleasure to sort of chat alongside you. I have to admit, like, you know, and I was talking to Igor at Common Accounts, you know, in my practice about this, we don't really think about corners very much. So this was at first a bit of a challenge of sort of thinking about something that maybe admittedly we don't spend enough time about. And you said, don't present your own work, and we don't have enough built corners to talk about it. So, you know, that's not a problem. But like Jimenez, I thought I would start with something that was expressly local. And so here you're looking at Speaker's Corner at the Chum City building at Queen and John in Toronto. It's not there anymore, but the building is, and I passed by it on my way here this evening. Some version of Speaker's Corner was there from 1987 to 2008. And, you know, like Moses Neimer found City TV in 1972, and then eventually, you know, grows to a scale where they need bigger studios and they can afford a more sort of public studio, and so they purchased this building in 1984, and 3 years later they start broadcasting from the street right at Queen and John. And the concept, well, you're seeing Speaker's Corner here, which is the kind of excerpt just in the last structural bay, right at the corner. You can see all the sort of grid of screens in the video booth. The concept of it was that for $1, anyone could stop in off of the street and make a 2-minute long video recording, which stood a chance at being aired, or at least some segment of it. First, these were sort of broadcast as like letters to the editor on City Pulse News in 1989, but shortly after the booth opened, it became so popular and generated so much content that they produced a dedicated program on Much Music, which was also launched in 1987. It hosted a lot of celebrities, politicians, you know, Madonna, Weird Al, the Bare Naked Ladies. They all had a moment on Speaker's Corner, Mike Myers. This was based off of the original Speaker's Corner, hardly a corner, but in London's Hyde Park, which through its histories, you know, featured public appearances from the likes of Karl Marx, Lenin, George Orwell. An 1872 Act of Parliament is what enshrined the kind of rights to impromptu soapbox free speech at this location specifically, as long as that speech was lawful. And this was tied to the tradition of a kind of final speech given to those who were being executed at the nearby Tyburn Gallows, which actually originates in the 12th century. So there's a kind of long history of like emphatic free speech near this location. And this has spawned a genre of public corners focused on speech around the world, which, you know, formally and behaviorally kind of vary from place to place. Here you're looking at Auckland, New Zealand Speaker's Corner, also not really a corner, but you know, maybe the corner is a kind of idea, a comfortable place, or a place of at least sort of safety or deferred consequences, where speech is sheltered and someone is made visible, and the projection of otherwise invisible or yet unknown ideas is possible. This is the Wesley building, the Chum City building, before it was such. I think construction started in 1914 during the First War, and here you can see it completed. It was always a building for the production of media. It started as the headquarters of the publishing arm of the Methodist Church, and then it became the Ryerson Publishing Company, and then the United Churches Publishing Company. It housed banks and other things on its ground floor, but in 1984 it was sold to Chum, and broadcasting started 3 years later. This was Speaker's Corner before it was Speaker's Corner, and you can see that to become Speaker's Corner, material had to be removed, a kind of void had to be created. On Queen Street, these videos became popular enough that it necessitated its own program. Bands like the Bare Naked Ladies got their start here, performing, in their case in 1990, an early version of Be My Yoko Ono. Jean Chrétien and Preston Manning would both make speeches during election campaigns from the booth. And you know, you can see here you're as much kind of in the pulpit on the street as much as you are sort of within the lens of the camera. You know, the positioning though is kind of funny because you're sort of focused inward toward the building, the city sort of at your back. My corners really are all technically chamfers, though, I have to admit. But that's okay, I feel this is a safe space for that. And they're not just technically chamfers, they're technical chamfers as well, in the way that they perform in service of the production of media, the projection of bodies, actually, and the cultivation of attention of a kind of audience. You know, the idea of a chamfer, at least as it's sort of expressed in many of these diagrams, is like not only as a kind of geometry, but also as an action. Like the before the chamfer and after the chamfer is a kind of interesting thing that holds true at Speaker's Corner, at least. It acts on something existing. There's the kind of denial of an edge, the denial actually of like a proper corner. This is a really atrocious artwork, but it's one that there's so few views really on like Google Images, and this one actually does capture something really amazing about Speaker's Corner, which is the kind of oblique view through the void. And so at the Chum City building, a few things are going on. Like the corner is the obvious venue for the booth, like which could be located maybe anywhere along the sort of, along grade. But it's also this site of negotiation between like the city and the space of broadcast. A grid of like the live screens, that's right there on the left, that plays Chum Station content outward, while the speakers facing inward speak to the camera, but also speak to the center of the building, and that building is like the channel. Meanwhile, also the chamfer really clears that space. Inside the outermost structural bay, and this allows for a shortcut. It permits passage through the building's like otherwise implied volume, and that already is a kind of invitation, right? It sort of says like, it'll be shorter if you come through here, and so anyone enticed to take the shortcut is one, bombarded with like Chum programming. Two, is a prospective background participant. You might appear on screen. And three, you kind of enter into the like psychic space of broadcast media, right? Like permitting that media reflexively to kind of enter into the space momentarily of your life, your walk through the downtown. And let's not forget that this is just a few years after Videodrome, in which, the fictional media theorist Brian Oblivion envisions a world where television kind of enmeshes in or sort of replaces daily life. And the chamfer at Queen and John Street specifically, I think, facilitates that kind of McLuhanistic sort of imaginary brought to life by Moses Neimer. And, there are moments also where the building speaks, sort of recalling its original use, the sort of emblems of books and scribes carved into it in relief into its facade. But Speaker's Corner lasts only until 2008, and when Chum announces the closure of the booth, they cite YouTube actually as being the sort of cause of the sort of program's demise. The idea being that the corner is now kind of atomized and ubiquitous, that the phone and everything around us is potentially a corner. And maybe we could kind of challenge the sort of that idea now. Like, I don't think those things are kind of one-to-one necessarily, but just a kind of interesting postscript maybe. And this brings me to my urban scale corner, the temporary installation on Rome's Palazzo Braschi in 1934, a building which in the 20s, 30s, and 40s housed Mussolini's fascist party headquarters. For the 1934 election, it was outfitted with this banner and a gigantic relief sculpture of Mussolini's face. And so if the prior chamfer was kind of a speaker's corner, this is really more a corner that speaks. The Palazzo, which is right here, it's a neoclassical building. It's commissioned by Duke Luigi Braschi Onesti in 1790, but the footprint of it, which you can see there in the Noli plan from 1748, it follows the outlines of the building that was previously there, which had been there since the 1500s. Another palazzo, which kind of held the south end of the outline of the Piazza Navona. And when the original patron of the palazzo died at the end of his life, he had been appointed mayor, by the way, by Napoleon during the Napoleonic occupation of Rome. And this had become the seat of municipal power in Rome, but he died penniless, and the family sold the building off to the government, being that it already kind of had this sort of history with governmental functions. And then it became the Ministry of Interior of the Italian government. And this is how it came to be eventually the Fascist Party headquarters. And you can see there are prior iterations of the kind of decoration and sort of dressing of this facade in particular for a prior election in 1929. I'm reading this facade, it faces the Piazza San Pantaleo as a chamfered corner, though it's even sort of more so the case in 1934 when like the entire sort of upper section of the building becomes a billboard. And when it's made to proclaim, sort of adorned as it is with text, and in this case a portrait, it's almost as if the mass of the city is speaking too, and I think that's why it was sort of instrumentalized to be the sort of media surface. Here the building speaks yes in favor of the party's non-negotiable pre-selected slate of candidates, and the monument in the piazza also echoes yes in affirmation. In 1934, so embarrassingly, I don't know who designed this installation, but at the same time, propaganda was being produced for the plebiscite by modernist graphic designers. In this case, by Santi Szawinski, who was working for Studio Bojeri. He was a Bauhaus graduate, very close with Gropius, had left Berlin because of the kind of rising anti-Semitism. He was Jewish, had sort of sought shelter in Rome and stayed there until Mussolini aligned more closely with Hitler. But you can see that C and some of the kind of logic of the installation here, it sort of aligns with some of the principles of this poster, which was published in one of the sort of largest fascist magazines at the time, La Rivista. And so here you have Mussolini, a sort of half-tone, photo collage version, the body made up of the populace, right, of the kind of Roman or Italian people, gazing down upon them, not so different from his kind of posture as a face on the facade of the building. Yeah. The Italian Graphic Archive, Robert was chomping at the bit to get to the Thomas Hobbes of it all. It has its roots so the Italian Graphic Archive notes, and it sort of notes on this poster, which is generally regarded still as a kind of masterpiece of like modernist Italian design, that its main referent is Abraham Boss's engraving for the frontispiece of Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan, in which Hobbes argues for absolute sovereignty and consolidated political power to kind of avoid the sort of chaos of human nature. And I think even like in the kind of graphic repetition of yes as an emblem here, you even kind of reproduce the sort of halftone of the photo collage image, and certainly the audience, which is implicit there, is explicit in the Piazza Pantaleo in front of the building. And at this exact time, starting the year before, in fact, giant images like this one of Mussolini were being developed by sculptors, architects, and artists to adorn new public spaces elsewhere in the city. Here at the Foro Mussolini, and some of these were even kind of built, sort of recalling maybe the surviving fragments that we know of like the Colossus of Constantine. So that's the urban corner for me. This is not my detailed corner, but this is a little bit of a detour. If that was like the body on the chamfer, my next corner is sort of place the body in the chamfer, and projection takes place in other ways, kind of on the interior, for instance, and also through the lens of the camera. Here you're looking at Irving Penn's photo studio. In the 1940s, he became well known for a series of corner portraits in which he positioned the flats in his studio to create this kind of acute situation, first with a sort of a middle, like frontal panel that produced that chamfer surface, and eventually he kind of did away with that and created something even more severe. He was interested in a kind of non-neutral studio setup in order to kind of, on the one hand, put a bit of pressure on his subjects. He didn't want them to kind of stand neutrally in front of some kind of dull, backdrop, but also he actually argued that the sort of acute angles of the studio flats did a lot of the kind of like movement direction for him. He then didn't have to instruct the people on what to do with their limbs. they could kind of intuit there were these things here that they had to respond to. And I think that becomes even more sort of pronounced in some of the later portraits, where it's really like just two flats. He erases the sort of chamfered corner and just lets those things meet at a sort of severe angle. But you know, when he does have the chamfer, and especially when you see it on the float in the photo frame, right? Like you really understand there's a three-dimensionality to how this sits on the page. It produces such depth, and also by often raising his subjects on a seat or a kind of stool or a box, he really puts them at the center of the vanishing point. So it's this kind of way of pulling focus. You know, I think here, like, you just see how intensified the kind of relationship of the subject and the environment becomes. And, you know, for like Truman Capote, it becomes a sort of thing to kind of react against. For someone else, it might be a kind of instruction to sort of, you know, stand tall and frontal and straight. But you can see it produces, I think, a really kind of pressurized sort of environment for the portrait subject. And in 1948 onward, he removes that and kind of continues with just the two panels. I'm going the other way there. Here we go. That brings me to my actual detail, which is really sort of still at the scale of architecture, but this is the interior of Hans Hollein's Reti candle shop in Vienna, which was built in 1966. And this is playing all sorts of other games of projection. You know, these dimensions also are similarly scaled to a body. And you're probably familiar with the facade of this building. One of the original sketches was to produce a chamfered sort of entrance off of the street. And, you know, he understood that this was like the most exclusive and distinguished shopping street in Vienna. He said it wouldn't be appropriate to include text or lit up signage, so the facade of the building itself needed to signal implicitly and incorporate discrete vitrines rather than being sort of ostentatious and explicit. In this sketch, the attention that the corner maybe naturally commands at the Chum building and at the Palazzo Braschi is inverted to entice the shopper inward. And he wrote of his design, attention is not drawn to the shop by gaudy neon signs or stuffed full windows, but through its architecture and a few specially displayed items. Psychological reactions such as curiosity were put to use. This isn't ultimately what he chooses, though. He actually flips this and makes this basically the interior condition when you enter. This is the display area, and then this is both storage and where you check out at the cashier. And so here you can see what that looks like. You come in through this door, the sort of square of that interior space has been rotated 45 degrees, and so you enter already sort of, I think similar to the sort of Irving Penn studio, kind of on the back foot, a little bit disoriented and needing to kind of position yourself to the space. And if you turn to the kind of side view, he's produced a mirror which then kind of replicates the space endlessly, at least optically. He said, the great spatial differentiations like narrow passages and closing spaces, openings into the indefinite like this, and the somewhat processional concept create a feeling of size and movement, a sensation of pulsation of space which overcomes the limited size. It was a small store. And from this angle, the positioning of the display shelf right there, which is mounted onto the mirror, puts the candle both in the center of the space in the infinite projection, but also on the edge of the space in the kind of real. And there's a kind of ironic sleight of hand here in which the photographer's presence is like completely erased from the photo, right? You don't see the tripod or anything there. And this is how he described it as a drawing. There's a kind of partie diagram of the plan, and he shows that space sort of echoing out, kind of, and maybe getting sort of softer or dissipating into the distance. And he described the shop also plastically as a whole, and because you guys were interested in sort of the detail scale, I was curious about the kind of details with which he constructed this sort of like plastic whole. He was interested in aluminum because he thought this was like the material of the century. And the edges, the sort of bonding of all of the surfaces to one another, it's epoxy resin throughout. Yeah, there are very few fasteners. And he was interested in using that material also in exuberant sort of 20th century, 1930s it was invented, in order to kind of create those super precise seams. And so all these corners, or rather chamfers, I think like in appropriating the corner's natural talent for pulling focus, broadcast bodies, but also the idea of the city, and in claiming the chamfer, a geometry that denies the corner as a foregone geometric conclusion, it instead substitutes it with a flat, oblique surface. Each of these examples sort of gestures toward media, whether the magazine spread or photographic surface or the television screen, and an architecture of projection in some way. And in each case, their performance is really dependent on the passerby. It's only sort of working when someone engages with it. And I think also, the chamfer's geometric truncation in all these cases sort of works in service of some sort of intentional psychic interruption, some kind of dissonance. And that's my theory.
What now, captains?
Yeah, what do you guys want to look at?
First of all, really amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing. I don't know, I enjoyed it so much, I have nothing to say.
That's horrible.
Yeah, that's
Should we just
horrible.
directly
I
open
like-
up to the floors?
Yeah.
Unless, yes, I think you should just open
I
it.
think Robert is kind of itching to say something. That's
That's
what
not
I
good.
feel.
What are you thinking, Robert?
Lots of things.
Please,
You want me to go first?
anyone can go, but yes, since I think you.
I mean, thank you for your service.
Yeah.
My pleasure. I had a lot of thoughts. I mean, they're both amazing talks, really fascinating. And I was just trying to think at the end of how to weave them together. But maybe that'll come from discussion amongst all of us, actually, and the two of you. But Jimenez, when you were talking, it did put me in mind of a famous bad boy quote from Philip Johnson, which was when he said that architecture was the art of wasting space. And
He can afford it.
well, everybody, I was thinking, actually, the thing that's sad today is that those who could afford it before was the public good in the public sphere, that places like Union Station here, Grand Central in New York, post offices, all those places were monumental in scale to represent civic good, and they all were wasteful. And many of our public spaces now are mean because of it's funny, you talk about abundance, but it's an abundance of cheap goods, not an abundance of public goods or high goods. So that was one of the things. There's so many. You guys brought up a lot of different themes, but that was something that I was struck by when you were talking about, because I want to tell you one. I have an anecdote I'd like to tell, and then I will stop. But I was at when I used to when I was performing my service, I was on the board of on the board of the University Museums, and so we invited as a board member to all sort of tour curators and the director of the museum, and they'd always take us around, and it's always our museums are all committed to these ethical projects of underrepresented artists, communities and their arts, and usually some form of ecological recuperation. Good deeds. And I was at the meeting, and I'm surrounded by all my colleagues there, and I said, don't you all, I said, I knew that this would get me in trouble. I said, don't you ever feel some pleasure in waste? Kind of like Georges Bataille, sort of just like a potlatch of total waste. Like I remember, sometimes you go to Europe, everything is small, people have small wardrobes. everything is small. Water flow is small, Trump would say. And then you fly back to Toronto, and you see this infinite landscape of logistics to bring cheap goods and others into the city for consumption. And when I return to Canada, to North America more broadly, I fly into like an American airport, like say, I don't know, something in Texas, and there's just like miles of shit. And I love it. I love it. I said, don't you love waste? It's luxury. It feels good. It's like the scarcity of our human past is at bay, and we have everything we could possibly ever imagine, at least tantalizing us, even if we can't actually have it. Anyway, your the Gursky picture and the not exactly. I was on the sets once or twice. Depressed me, but these are such shitty stuff.
But elevated their social status.
Yeah, well, the Mervishes for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just like the I don't know what to say. It's just the dynamic of waste, abundance, scarcity. This is a fascinating
Yeah.
theme.
I mean, but also I was thinking about Miles's talk, right? Like, propaganda came about, right? Like, the ways in which the Mervish family was able to propaganda their way into significance in the Toronto, sphere, right? Like, the corner is really where you communicate, right?
Yeah, the irony is like exactly, it was that, and now it's the Frank Gehry Tower.
Ridiculous. Ridiculousness.
Well, when we first started chatting in the WhatsApp too, we knew that there were Speaker's Corner and Honest Eds, but I didn't know what else. And I thought originally it was going to be about speech, right? Like corners.
Speech act.
Yeah, but actually it's more about display or other forms of kind of projection and communication. I mean, like even in the Office project, it's about the projection of this geometry that then kind of gets exerted, and I don't know, maybe other sort of linguistic plays on projection. But yeah, luxury too.
Yeah.
But then you think that also like the austerity, in as much as
Minimalism.
minimalism.
In quotes.
Yeah, okay.
Which you
minimalism.
can't afford. Maybe you could. I don't know.
Well, maybe. I don't have to disclose that. But no, I mean, the dynamic of distinction between classes is one that involves. It's like if the masses are consuming an abundance of cheap goods, then rich people, to distinguish themselves as a class, will demonstrate a highly selective and minimal.
Except, okay, so I subscribe to one Substack, which is this like writer and creative director Patrick Sandberg. And just this week, he was talking about Coca-Cola's rebrand. They've like rebranded. Not much has changed, but for some people, it's like a new world. But in this article, he's writing about what Andy Warhol said about Coca-Cola, which is that that like whether you're rich or poor, Elizabeth Taylor is drinking Coca-Cola, and a person living on the street is drinking the same Coca-Cola,
Right.
and that you're drinking. It's this like kind of there are these things
Democratizing.
that transcend those
right,
differences.
You don't think they're drinking Fiji water?
Right.
But John Frusciante, like if he was any younger, he would be on YouTube probably. And like this is also one of the things I found so powerful about your presentation. Like, if architecture is a semiotic device, which I think we both talked about that, right? Like, is a means of communication, right? The democratization of that means that as an instrument of communication, right? There are times that the let's say aestheticization of the instrument is formal. However, there are also times that the instrument of communication is technical. And I really feel like the instrument today. I heard a lot of technical.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't know. I think like these were all architects who were interested. I mean, I don't know who that architect was, but I think these were all sort of.
I mean, can you imagine like yes is more? Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Yes, we can. Right? Like Obama. You know, I don't know. Like we're in Canada right now, but I live in the United States right now. Right? Like Obama is still my favorite president. That might as well be yes is more.
Well, except it would never. Well, it was his face. It was his face, but it like somehow this is different, right? Like, oh, it's creepy. Like it writes itself. It's like, how can that be real?
Well, wait a second.
Sorry, I meant yes, we can.
Well,
Why is it different? Because I just thought. I mean, the architecture of fascism and the architecture of American federalism under Roosevelt was the same. I mean, it was both a kind of stripped down neoclassic, like Deco-ish.
I guess maybe the difference is Obama. I mean, Obama's face was, I think, not rendered as like a sculptural relief on
Yeah,
the
I
building.
mean,
he looked
Shepard, like totally like accentuated the as chiaroscuro of his face like a Roman bust.
So is it the same? And was that like paid for by like the Obama super PAC?
I don't know the details.
I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a question of who's like the agent behind it.
Could you have similar forms of propaganda for very different political content?
Yeah, or.
I mean, the other thing I really love about your
presentation,
the other thing I really love about your presentation today was the mention of soapbox. Right?
Yeah,
and like the Mirvish family, don't just stand there, buy something.
Yeah.
On a very low level, like the grassroots, outreach program of, and where, let's say the Freddie Mamani Bolivian architecture from, I don't know if you guys know about the Bolivian scene where, Freddie
Adrian educated us on.
You did, yeah. Adrian, do you want to say something about Freddie Mamani? Like the transcendence of the socioeconomic upward.
Before Adrian gets ready for his, can I ask one question? Because I think there is something. I was really enjoying it. I didn't expect to be ready to relate the two thoughts. But now that I'm more composed, I'm thinking: is it fair? Because you also eliminated one corner that for some reason Michel de Klerk, because I liked it, and for some reason it reminded me.
I love that corner.
Yes.
I love that corner.
Yes, and my sense is you were getting prepared for a conversation about the role of sign in architecture, and the Mirvish corner is a great example of flatness that is projected on two sides. It's like a symmetrical thing, and it's one image that is projected. Then there's this subtraction of Christian gears of the thing, and it's hard to relate them. It goes every time you have to relate to the conceptual argument you are making. The architecture move has to be translated to the notion of void or to the flatness, but there's not one.
I never said flatness, by the way.
No, I'm reading flatness because you didn't call it something.
I never did.
But
He doesn't agree.
No. But I'm just saying there is not one. But in case of Miles, I think chamfer is an architecture tool that is consistent across. One is the void. And I love the CTT. I never noticed that the subtraction.
Yeah.
So it's architecture. Very specifically, the chamfer is a
mean,
formal tool, and I have to. And there's a question of: did it really need to be a chamfer for all of these things to work as a sign or not? And I'm fine if you say not, but I like the fact that it's a very specific. At least the tree has a very specific formal gesture.
I mean,
Would you agree that you avoided a formal thing? Go ahead, sir.
Did I avoid a formal?
No, a consistency across form of, your argument goes from one project to the other, while the formal game that is happening in one project versus the other is not getting transferred. It's not one.
Nima-jan, I think you have a preconceived notion of me, but I want to talk about the truncation, right? Because we go from 45 to 135, 135.
135.
If you truncate,
Oh yeah.
it becomes 135, 130,
Sure.
135, right? I was also thinking about Walter Netsch, which is a Chicago architect who ran SOM in Chicago for, like, he was one of the really important Chicago architects. I lived in Chicago for 6 years. Anyway, I got to know, that corner of history. Field theory was something that Walter Netsch was working on, where the 45-90 turned into 135, 135. Like by creating, let's just say, hexagons, right? The corners are no longer acute. You can truncate it, and the act of truncating it, is to no longer do the dead cat's corner or the dust collectors or whatever you want to call it, right?
It makes it more available.
That's right. Yeah. And there was something about that, I don't know if by saying all this, hopefully I'm being formal. I don't know. Like, if you want to
No, I'm saying, do you believe that this, when architecture acts as a sign, requires any specific formal aspect of architecture to accompany it, or when architecture becomes sign, it can be flat, it can be a subtraction, acts as a void, or does it require the architecture form to go along, or it's a moment that architecture actually is autonomous from form?
Well, this is where you might have to invoke Fincher or Scott Brown.
Oh, yeah?
Well, I mean, like architecture can signal and architecture can communicate without being literally a sign. I mean, I think like, I guess it's a question of what? I mean, like with Honest Ed's,
Right.
I mean, it's so the casino, like the casino from Learning from Las Vegas, like, all of it. And I guess that's to what signal to the shopper that like it's fun to shop here. Come
Doesn't all architecture at all its forms, all its moments always signal? I mean, it's funny to
They do, yeah.
To isolate semiotic content to the thing which is self-evidently a sign, but I don't know, like the new Honest Ed's.
I haven't been.
It's not an Honest Ed, but it's like a kind of village of modernist buildings.
Wait, you don't like it?
Oh,
It's very good, actually.
Wait, hang on. I want to open up to the floor, okay?
Yes.
Because I haven't been to the new corner. What is that? Bathurst and Laura.
Can we have a picture?
It's very
What do you
good.
look? Have you been there?
Everybody's
been there.
No, I
I
barely.
have not. I mean, I just.
I live in Chicago,
I landed
I'm
this.
there.
I'm sorry, guys. I landed this morning, right?
Not you, them.
No,
I mean,
that's okay.
Nima Jean.
Robert.
I don't
Robert
know on
likes-
the internet.
Oh,
Internet Nadori.
yes,
Internet
David.
Nadori.
First of all,
Nadori.
David getting planted
Hey,
back
David,
there.
David,
is one art of trying to
David.
distribute.
Not so much critical comments, but two very, and I'll try and make them short stories.
Okay.
One of them is a certain Mies van der Rohe was invited to spend the night at Philip Johnson's glass house. Philip stays in one of the other buildings on the estate. And in the morning, he arrives with coffee for Mies. The house is empty. Mies at 3 in the morning had called a cab and checked into a hotel. And, we find him and he says, well, why? He says, you cannot build a glass box and put columns in the corners. So, which again contrasts to like the furniture that's where the columns are all removed from corners. The other reference I'll give, to critical corner, is Alan Rudolph, who for many years was the assistant director to Robert Altman in all his ensemble pieces, makes a film called Welcome to LA. And in the film, it's Lauren Hutton's first cinematic role. And she plays a photographer who only takes photos of corners. And they're very intimate corners. They're all, in fact, shot by Andrew Shea. And I'll just leave it.
This is
Eruche.
Robert, please make your case.
Elaborate.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not like Honest Ed's is good architecture. I don't know why you. I mean, we.
No, but that doesn't pretend to be good architecture.
Very good.
I don't know. I mean,
This-
views.
this-
What's better?
Honest Ed.
No.
I mean, what's better?
Good with all
Robert,
the
let's talk about this.
stages.
Let's talk about this. What's better is need or want.
Well, obviously, people
This
want.
is need. This is need, though.
No.
Yes,
It's need
this is
combined
need.
with want.
This is
because-
need. This is need.
Well, you can say it over and over again. It doesn't persuade me that
Yeah,
it isn't.
but how is that want?
Because I think that you know, people want the city to be. I mean, this is a very old story. People want they're anxious about the big scale of capitalization in modern cities. So we constantly are producing agglomerations of large scale form that look like accumulations of smaller scale form, and that's responds to this want. I mean,
Demand.
well,
No, but it's
want.
not demand, it's greed. And the story of that site, Mervish sells it, and most of it goes to Ian Gillespie of West Bank of Vancouver, who's all about greed, despite the saying, oh, this is all rental housing, it's going to meet the needs. Ian doesn't like to pay bills. He's the same developer who disappeared on the Archangel's Mountain project, which is now owned by somebody else. I don't even know who the current owner who is renting out these things, and the design architect was Gregory Enriquez, and sure, they're trying to do something.
But David,
I'm sorry.
we can't get to like the details of individual profit are not. I don't think that they are necessarily. the point.
No, in this case, they're totally about the motivation, and it's masquerading, I would say, as urban responsibility.
Well, but the masquerade is a response to desire. You know, it's like so developers are responding to what they imagine makes projects. You know, you can either call it more palatable or more desired.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I'm not saying all developers are bad.
No, but I'm not talking about all. It's just a structure of providing commodities. Commodities must appeal to people, and so I mean I don't know. In the end, like Honest Ed's is making, he's like, you know, through a certain kind of massification, is appealing. No.
I mean, I'm not. By the way, I really want to open up to
Yes,
the young people, right? Like,
which are
yeah.
cramped on the corner.
Yeah, please. Because you know, like, we know, but I really want to hear from the young people.
My method is just attacking.
You're young.
Adrian,
You're young. Adrian, you're
just
the
looks
last
young.
young person, and then it's them, okay?
Yes.
He's not less young than Nima.
If we open one of these questions on poly markets or Kalshi, on which side this group is going to fall regarding Robert versus the rest. I just want to declare that I'm on Robert camp regarding the reading of this corner and how it happened and why it's more exciting than what it was. That's all I want.
Which means he thinks it's good.
Yes.
I might finish my grade, but I
Ladies and gentlemen,
Yes,
I'm gonna quote Michael Douglas. Ladies and gentlemen, for lack of better words, greed. Remember that movie?
That's
I just want to say that I just finished one of the Mervish Village projects, Boat Bar.
I'm sorry, you're not a young person.
I'm sorry, I'm going to speak anyway. So you're missing, there is a part of this that's also bringing back what they believe is the old tradition, which are the houses along that Mervish.
I love that street.
Okay,
I love
so
that street.
there is
now
that
gonna
as
bring
well.
bring
So I
it
just wanted
back.
to add
What do you
that.
mean by bring it back?
No, listen, like Bellenford, you guys remember the bookstore?
Of course.
Marcus.
That's an embarrassment for this city. He got.
I love that
He
street.
went
I love
bankrupt
that
before
street.
any of this.
I love that street.
So
Markham.
there is that,
Markham.
they've maintained
Markham.
that beautiful
Real
little
estate.
Yeah, I love that
parquet,
street.
and it's growing into be you know, one of the nicest little urban spaces as far as Toronto goes.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, I love that.
No, like,
I want that.
Honest Ed's was always one of those things where, like, I mean, as a kid, I grew up around here, and I always thought that facade looked so fun. Inside, it was deeply depressing.
Yeah.
It was never.
It's horrible.
It was never what it promised to be.
The products
It's
were
Walmart.
shit.
It's Walmart.
No,
It's Walmart.
No,
It's worse than Walmart.
Walmart
It was
brings Walmart and
Something
Costco
real about
actually
it.
have
By the way,
decent
how did you
products
guys
and
lose?
circulation.
Hang
This
on,
was
can I just
dusty.
ask-
It's not dusty.
Sorry?
Can I just ask, how did you guys lose Jesse McCarthy?
How did we lose?
Jesse.
Like,
Beautiful
Well,
Jesse.
we're supposed to disclose private university
Lots of
matters here.
I mean, Jesse. By the way, just look up there. If you don't know who he is, he's a current professor at Cornell.
He runs the PhD program.
What's that?
He runs the PhD program now.
Yes, and he was a faculty member here, right?
he took another job. I mean,
Hang on. Can I just say, like, his PhD from ETH in Switzerland, in Zurich, was on the militarization of Walmart.
Well, the logistics.
Logistics, not
Militarization.
Not militarization.
I don't think we're supposed to spill tea over all the white models.
It's a good read.
Yeah, but you know,
Logistics is military.
no, militaries use logistics like retail.
All right, guys, open up to the young people.
Janice,
Anybody,
Sammy is
anyone,
not
please.
here.
You guys,
You have
if you don't
to-
speak,
Yes.
the energy of Toronto, you know, like we need this.
I mean,
we need
Nikki,
this.
you're right there.
And there's so much pressure.
You gotta do it.
It's here sitting on a corner.
Anybody, somebody.
But yes,
Corner
there's
of-
someone raising
corner
their
of
hand.
Zor-
That's
and
right.
neglecting.
Go.
Oh,
Please, go.
amazing.
Miles' comment about Honest Ed's being this advertising one thing on the outside and then being a contrary experience in the interior, I think is pretty much exactly the same as what's happened here. Like, this building was designed facade first. There's a vision of a sort of urbanism they're projecting with having done the facades. I don't know if anyone's been inside, but we did a tour mid-construction, and the unit layouts were clearly an afterthought to the point where, like, you have mullions right at eye level, you have windows spanning, you have walls hitting in between windows. Clearly there was an idea for what they wanted us to look from the outside, and then what that internally worked out to was entirely accidental.
Who took you there?
Sam Buffel.
University.
Oh yeah, he used to work AC, right?
Yes, Sam.
Yeah.
He's great. But
Sam.
I don't know why
I like
he
him.
took you there.
I mean, a lot of
Maybe Robert.
condos. I mean, the condo market is filled with efforts at uniqueness, and many of those efforts produce irrational facade designs that are at odds with unpredictable unit layouts. So, like Jeannie Gang's Aqua building has those fluid movements that are completely unrelated to any logic of unit design. It's not unique to this particular styling of accumulation. It's just a characteristic of an effort to create a commodity form on the exterior of condominiums. To my mind, regardless of style commitments. I mean, I doubt that the layouts of the Jeannie Gang up on Yonge are any better.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I mean, maybe it makes sense to have the conversation about authenticity, right? Honest Ed's, dishonest this. I mean, but truly, I mean, because actually Honest Ed's was, dishonest in his way and honest in other ways, and this is this kind of, dishonest thing because, what it presents as is not what anyone really sort of. We all know, though, this isn't the thing that it kind of.
It's like somehow the circus huckster selling snake oil in the 1880s somehow is an object of nostalgia, while the huckster from today is more criminal.
Yeah,
but they're all the same.
Because
What
the grid
is this
would have
about-
been
yeah,
fine.
yeah.
The pure grid would have been fine. People would have bought it.
It wouldn't have been better.
No, it's not better or worse. I'm saying this extra effort is unnecessary. People would have bought this corner
you think-
because of its location. This
Guys,
argument for
hang on.
It's
Yes.
I have to say
It's moderate.
something. David, I'm sorry, I have to say something.
Yes,
There's
yes,
some corrections here.
Hang on.
This is rental
David, I'm
housing.
sorry.
It
I
was
have to
never
ask the
for
young
sale,
people.
And Nancy's point about Markham was the way in which they were able to increase the number of units was to, in quotes, preserve Markham.
Maximize. But I have to involve the young people because
Yes, that's a
I really want to involve the young people.
Janice, please.
Listen, this is all I want to do, okay? You all grew up watching Wall-E, right?
I think that was a question.
I think they're younger than that.
Right? I'm just asking, right? Do you remember By and Large, the company?
Yeah.
That's Honest Ed's, right? By and Large.
Remind me, I've
We
seen
haven't
Wall-E.
grown up
No, I've
watching
seen
Wall-E.
Wall-E, but what was it by and large? What was it?
Can somebody say something about By and Large?
Yes, very good.
One of you must have watched that movie, right?
I've been told that.
Yes, there's a hand.
I have watched the movie, but may I kind of just give some thoughts on the
Please, I want that.
I
Yes.
actually wrote a paper on this before. This is really interesting site because what we discussed a lot of corners, sure, and what I read from the new development is not necessarily a corner; it's more of a wall. When you look at the actual proposal, it's internalizing a park. So a lot of the proposal is creating, as we've discussed, this new self-sustaining almost village, but it is doing it so it's catering to the not ultra wealthy, but more so wealthy end of the spectrum. And more so it perhaps suggests that wealth is not necessarily, as we phrased it before, hold on, I've written it down, nothingness. It's maybe secrecy is as wealth. Wealth is secrecy disguising as nothingness.
Do you think that one of the successful transfers over to Markham Village is Badioli? Is that wealth? You know the pizza place there's one down here.
Aspirational pizza.
Yeah. I don't know. And then Blackbird Bakery is opening up on Markham. And there's the person who was talking about this before.
So what's happening on Markham? I haven't been to Markham.
It's like a little museum of Toronto's Victorian history.
So they've basically maintained those houses.
It's the old story of, if I may, the density motherfucker carrying the load of less valuable real estate.
I see. And how intact are the properties? Is it just the facade, or
they're intact.
I see. It's the whole thing that they.
I mean, they're renovated. They're not being used. It's not like a Jane Jacobs, old and new, maintaining the social ecology of what was through the cheapness of the already fully amortized real estate from before. It's all new.
But the lots are not assembled, or the lots are assembled.
Well, I doubt that Blackbird and Badioli own the lots.
No, they're
No,
all
but
owned
that
by
was
the same people.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to bet that the high-end shops in the saved fabric of Markham are not frequented by the tenants in the rental buildings on the Honest Ed site. So there's actually an extraordinary division of suggesting urban responsibility in order, again, to support a highly questionable provision of more, not affordable, but less unaffordable
I
housing.
see. But that's.
Get your facts right.
Well, do you have the facts?
Yes.
I mean, do you know whether or not the people renting in the old Mirvish site are not
Well-
going to get pizza slices over on Markham? I mean, do you know that as a fact?
No, but I'm sure they can't afford to go to the bookmark with all due respect.
No, but maybe there's like a weird way in which people who have limited means still buy expensive commodities like Blackbird bread.
I mean, there used to
Yeah.
be like an
Yeah.
art
People
bookstore
buy
and an
clothes that
architecture
time.
bookstore
Things
and a Japanese knife store
Bellingford.
and
This is
stuff like that.
okay. That's
Yeah,
Bellingford.
stuff,
Yeah, Bellingford.
I know.
Maybe I
Well,
could,
Mirvish
But
books.
who bought that stuff?
if I could
Steven,
clarify something.
as one
Just
of
on
also
market,
business owners in
and then I
the.
want to talk about the corner, come back to the corner. But our firm was hired to do the Markham Street test kits. And so we did arranged 14 restaurants on that street. And so they all have this kind of increment of a fine-grained frontage, but they're all actually joined at the back. So there's a shared service corridor. All of them share the same ventilation systems, ecologizers, things like that. So essentially, it's almost like a shopping mall. Essentially, there's these little frontages, but they're all really one entity at the back. So you could say that it's an exercise in scenography to a certain extent.
But it's different than through images.
So-
it's through.
So that's one thing. The other thing I find interesting about Mirvish Village is that if you know the neighborhood, they're not willing to accept kind of grandness on this. If you think of a corner is where you would want to do something, say, that has almost a landmark status to it. And so I've always looked at this corner and I'm saying, is there an attempt to do a kind of stealth landmark here, where it's clearly recognizable as a corner? So like the corner building is a different color, it's got higher columns, it's got a very different scale than any of the rest of the buildings on it. So to me, this is like a stealth landmark. They want it to be something, but because of the neighborhood, they can't make it into something like you would have done, I don't know, 200 years ago. Maybe you would have put a turret there or something like that in the kind of Victorian sense. So that's what's kind of fascinating to me about it, is that these real estate plays are really kind of political plays in a lot of ways. You're kind of navigating a very complex politics.
I mean, Miles was talking about propaganda today, right? Like, which is like high politics, right? Like, I mean, this corner, like, I wonder, you know, like, is this the aesthetics of contemporary high politics?
Well, I'm just thinking about this corner in Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh yeah, the Toronto movie.
Yeah, and this
I love that movie.
This intersection
I love
features heavily,
I love that movie.
and it's like, you know,
Macaulay
honest.
Culkin's brother plays.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone. The cast in that movie is crazy
Everybody.
too. It
Yeah.
it holds up. It's amazing.
I love
The
that
Pizza, which is off screen now, but I mean that's in it
I
as
love
well.
them, yeah.
And I'm just looking at this because I don't know if you can see based on where the
These
projector
are
is.
like 6, 7,
Well-
11.
Look, I mean, and I know that this isn't what it's aspiring to, and Stephen, to your point, but like that is so much more interesting in so many ways, and like, let's say maybe memorable and iconic, which I know aren't the responsibilities of this thing, but then whatever that
Can I ask you
is.
something, Miles?
Yeah.
So why is it, like, what makes the flotsam of another epic or another generation of retail better?
Oh, but that's my generation.
Yeah, no, I know. I mean, every you know, as generations of artists and architects mature, the preeminent nostalgia is for their youth.
For sure.
And because this just so happens, that's how it works in time. But what makes one generation of retail shit better than another one?
I mean, there was something I think, like, you signaled to Jimenez about Honest Ed's, at least about, like, the kind of, the implication was that, like, they knew that this was kind of, like, lowbrow.
That's right.
But
It's the Walmarts of Canada.
But I'm actually curious, and like, I assume that too, and I kind of appreciate that about it, the honesty of, like, this is lowbrow, but like, we'll be a huckster, sort of, you know, the hucksterification of this facade.
Wait, I really think that the Mirvish is highbrow?
Mm,
I mean,
No, but the
marketing is.
attempt is
They
hard.
escape. They escape.
This criticization of
selling
mass
you
to these
something.
individually owned blocks is trying to say that these are parcels of land that has been
But to
owned by.
but who-
So that's a
who
bit
do you
too
think-
much.
I mean, I guess I'm just wondering, like, who do you think the audience is for that appeal? Is it
This one.
sophisticates? You know, I don't know, like, you know, I don't know, but like, who's the sophisticate that it appeals to, and who is the lowbrow audience that it doesn't or does
No,
appeal to?
it could have been very good. So if you say, I looked at this at one point and I thought, if MVRDV had done this, if it were like the barcode
Yeah,
house,
that's good.
would
Yeah,
I
that's
be
good.
going, oh, this is great,
Where the Saladin also.
right?
Yeah.
That notion of heterogeneity,
Yeah.
but it's scenographic
Yeah, yeah.
heterogeneity, right? And I was thinking, if MBRDV did it, would I be saying, oh, I like this?
Is there?
And then I look at this now and I say, oh, I don't like
No,
it.
but Stephen, isn't MVRDV kind of signaling there's a kind of like in the know? It's like a kind of class signaling to sophisticates to say, we are in the know that we're doing this thing. And this is actually more like Mervish. There's nothing self-conscious about Mervish or pizza. And this is just like, you know, middle brow developers. I mean, they're not obviously not stupid, but they don't care. It's just like what they think will be a good commodity.
Right, but you could have said, I would give these facades to 6 artists or 6 different architects to do what they do, and that kind of friction of adjacency would be interesting.
How is the West 8 thing done in you know, like the row of like 60 row houses in the harbor of Amsterdam? Those are all different architects?
Yeah.
Those are all different.
And they're better. It's better.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better.
It's better. If these were 10 condos.
It's better because the units are better, but these are
just
condo
10 different
towers.
projects, pack them along,
Yeah.
you'll get a better project than one
So
building that tries to.
is Corktown better because they're different architects?
No, they're parcels, they're different development.
No,
This is
but like,
creating
but I'm just
Yeah.
Corktown here.
Yeah.
Is it better that they're different and differently designed? I mean, is it better than
what?
this?
Better than, because
Better
it's a
than
low
this.
rise. It's a hard.
What's the difference? I mean, it's
Because
just different.
it's about multiplicity of units.
I have to also, because, you know, guys, everybody, my time is limited here, right? So I'm gonna like try to say something here. I love Ante Liu. Ante is, I love
He
Ante.
does not respond to about that.
It's fine.
That direct.
It's fine. I don't care.
I love it too.
Thanks. The thing is about Ante is there's a, let's just say like it is what it is. Like you find thing and you play your hand, right? Like you know, you play the hand that you're dealt, right? Like if your schedule in the year is that way, if you know like find some air purifiers, if you find some packaging foam, like the reason why like I feel like today that I loved about our conversation today is like it is what it is. I mean, Speaker's Corner, Honest Eds, like these are things that we grew up around in our own ways. I'm just super curious, Ante, what's your take on? What's your take
On this?
on all this?
I haven't been in it yet, but I mean, I agree.
I mean, I don't want to talk about this building. This building's
Oh,
not that
what were you
interesting. I'm just
asking
talking about, like this part of, or maybe like Speaker's Corner.
I mean, I find them all very mediaistic and very sensational. I came here as a 4-year-old from Taiwan, and this was the first place my parents went to because we needed to buy cheap stuff. We didn't have a lot of money, a place to live, and one of my first memories is this place. And I don't think it's as good now as this. I mean, like what could be in Toronto. It was interesting. There was an Instagram post that someone sent me about 15 things that were incredible about Toronto that don't exist anymore. And this was one of them, and Speaker's Corner was one of them, and Sam the Record Man was another one.
For sure.
And, I forget what else. I mean, there's a lot of incredible stuff that is just gone. But they were all kind of like really kind of signage related, but also incredibly pleasurable environments. Behind the sign is this incredible depth actually. And it's not just about consumerism and the exchange of goods, but it was very experiential. Like going in there was very, very plastic actually, and going in Sam the Record Man was also
I love that.
a plastic experience as well.
I mean, Kengo Kuma, for example. But sorry, I should have pointed out something. Kengo Kuma, for those of you who may have been following Kengo Kuma's career early on, right? Like in Japan, there was a moment of, I have to use air quotes, postmodernism in Japan. He did this ginormous ionic column. I wonder, you know, the pilaster of what this structurally does not support is a capital. That's an iron column, right? Iron column.
It's like a belt buckle to me.
Iron capital.
It's like a professional wrestling belt buckle.
Non-ironic capital.
That's a mustache.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, mustache.
In the Marcel Duchamp, you know, like Mona Lisa way.
Every episode of history which is lost is an object of nostalgia. Someday we will be nostalgic for this one. No matter
Someday.
how bad, because this is bad.
Robert,
what's done now is bad. They're all
someday, today.
No.
You're
talking about the next present.
But I think the question is, will you be nostalgic for this part of it? And
I'm not. I'm sorry.
I think it's okay also to not be nostalgic for everything.
Yeah.
We don't have to. This wasn't asking for us to be.
Yeah.
To sort of.
You know, the thing that annoys me the most as being a parent, and I'm not trying to do that, but when I hear other parents or my partner saying, you know, in my time, we didn't do this, in my time everything was better, I am so disappointed.
Yeah, back in my
Not
day.
to use
Back in my day.
So I'm convinced that people will be very nostalgic 50, 60 years about something like this.
But I don't think.
And I don't think this should be the subject of nostalgia. This should be kind of, I think it's such a, I think this is great.
Yeah.
This is Toronto maximum.
But this corner.
And we should kind of study it, and I think it's great that we are discussing this as opposed to perhaps the old.
But I would say that this
honest Ed,
this
it's also
corner was
so
already.
disgusting.
I think this corner was already gentrified 20 years ago.
What? Sorry.
This corner was already gentrified 20 years ago.
It was.
The people
It
that
was.
live a block away from this are living in very expensive houses.
So they get to go to Badioli and buy $6
and
slices.
so even when Honest Ed's was there, Markham had Ballanford's, it had David Mervish books on art.
Yeah.
There was a $20 million.
There's a Frank Stella painting
Stella
on the wall.
painting that was 60 feet long painting there, but somehow it was okay because they're genteel, you know, and this is a genteel street, you know, and there's a Japanese knife store which, you know,
you want to be sharp.
Remember that place?
You got it's got to be sharp. Okay, it's got to be sharp.
Got to be sharp.
Yeah.
You know, so it was already gentrified.
And then they had the staples, the comic books.
It's the same.
It was gentrified in the early 70s, and before David Mervish had his bookstore, it was his gallery, which in fact David still has probably the finest collection of abstract expressionist paintings and steel sculptures from the late 60s and early 70s.
My warehouse.
A lot of it's actually being shown in New York.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
But he's
No,
got
but-
like a warehouse of.
Yeah, no, it's totally about exclusivity.
But I think that Adrian and I are on the same page. I feel a little repugnance at this nostalgia for bad architecture of the past and a rejection of bad architecture of the present.
Hang on. I have to ask. And I also want to extend, guys. I really want to,
They'll either talk or they won't. I mean, my goodness.
No, they should.
Listen.
Okay,
Robert. Hang on, Robert.
He's jumping in.
Hang on.
Somebody's going to talk.
I got a guy. You after all the pushing to get one speaker. We got one speaker.
Listen, I know, but I have to interject.
Okay.
Can
I have to interject. I'm sorry. I have to interject for just
Now
one
we're
moment.
ready, and now you're going to interject.
Yeah, I do. I really do. You say bad architecture.
Well, I mean.
You said that.
Yeah, I did.
So you get to determine what is good architecture.
Well, so do you.
So what is good architecture?
I don't know. I mean, what makes this bad and what makes Honest Ed's good? No. I'll put it back on you. On rubber,
You don't get to do that.
I don't.
I just asked you.
Okay, I mean, I don't know. I mean, no. Ante,
Let's-
who you
let's-
love.
Okay.
Gentlemen at the corner.
Yeah, let's hear.
No, you go first.
I've been thinking a lot about what Mr. Gertler said about, the corner being like the centerpiece. It feels very perspectival, right? Like we look at Mussolini and his face and you go like see him, it's like at the corner. We look at the speaker's corner, it's also perspectival because that's where like the source of broadcasting is coming from, even if the broadcasting isn't like Euclidean and geometrically linear. And then finally, we also look at Hans Hollein's storefront, and even though like everything is orthogonal in plan, but in perspective like creates this vanishing point. And I think like in relation to Hannes said, like they're all of the three corners that were brought up were very iconic, and so was Honest Ed's. And we've been talking on and on about like this piece of shit. Like
this one.
This is not memorable, man.
This sucks,
is
man.
Honest Ed's. People miss Honest Ed's because it was like a big ass sign, even if they didn't know what it was. And 2 weeks ago, they put up a piece of lip service, which was like a tiny ass sign, which is like, oh look, we brought back the Honest Ed sign, but it's not the original Honest Ed sign. And I think like the Honest Ed's, what was more important about it was placemaking. That it was like a source of perspectival gazing, and like we look at the old Honest Ed sign, and it's photographed like right at the corner, like it's the center of it all. Who cares about the inside?
Who speaks about perspective in 2026?
And you're talking about anamorphic projection. Should be. It's not.
And being memorable. Nobody like it. I don't think there are.
What's memorable about this?
But I do think that people are talking
The
about.
fact that replaced Honest Ed.
But people are interested in media, and like Honest Ed's was media. I mean, it was interested in that. But look, it was out of its time even for the last like 20 years. It was there.
I learned that from.
I think you're wrong. I think that this image, not the corner per se, but the moderation, it circulates a lot.
That one too.
That's better.
That one too.
Both of them. What do you want to look at?
But I want to look at the instrument of Speaker's Corner.
Oh, okay, yeah. Do you want to look at that horrendous?
Speaker's Corner is like any
Bruce.
Can we go
democratization.
back to
Sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Please. There's a hand.
Yes, Bruce.
We're not going back to Honest Ed.
No, there's a hand back there. Behind. Sorry, Mr. Hat, behind you. There's a hand.
No,
No, you why do you skip
asked
this?
He's controlling. Too controlling.
Sorry.
No.
Anyway, just a quick.
No, Bruce, you go first.
Just a quick observation, really. I'm new to C, so I don't have the nostalgic filter for Honest Ed. So I think for me, they're probably equally mediocre, the new version, old version. But I think
That's helpful.
what we want is the chamfered version. Or like, it's a naive way to say it, but why don't we do a chamfered version? The chamfered, like both of you guys said, is a waste of space. But instead of wasting space for like solo house for like the ultra rich, the chamfered space in a city is wasting space for the public because we create like this less space like surface obviously because it's one.
No, that's great.
Two
Yeah.
lines. But
Yeah,
you have
that's
one
great.
line, less space, but it's the space for the house.
No, that's great. Well done. Yeah.
I think the discussion we've been having on nostalgia is really interesting because like I'm not old enough to have ever been to Honest Ed, even though I've spent my whole life here. So I think the interesting thing about like when Adrian said that the most interesting thing about this condo is that it replaced Honest Ed's, that tells me that therefore there's something interesting about the building itself. It's almost like pandering to everyone's innate nostalgia, being like, oh look, because the whole like condo complex itself is like called the Mirvish Village, I believe, in the surrounding area is newly been called the Mirvish Village BIA. Almost to be like, hey, remember this thing? It's here. You really like that, so you should also like this building. So kind of like like reinvigorate those like pleasant memories I think a lot of those people in Toronto have from those times. To be like, hey, I know we're nothing like Honest Ed's, but we're in the same place, so we must be just as good. Feels incredibly like almost fake to me.
I don't know, I just feel we need to discuss numbers because we're not discussing them at all. We're discussing bone nostalgia and this image, and I think it's irrelevant. We need to know how many units are here and what is the job that they do. and how they actually create other things in the city. So there's a larger topic than this kind of corner that it's, you know, just like it is what it is. It's I don't know, just a Costco with a different sign.
Another young one.
I think we've done the honest eds thing. I'm gonna pull it somewhere else. I'm curious about this idea of not being able to afford space. In your example, second example you had with the circle.
Minimalism.
Well, the question is, what were you planning on putting there anyways?
What?
What were you gonna put in that corner?
I wasn't.
No, but the idea that only rich people could have like this unusable space suggests that that space could have been used for something else, right? Like, what were you gonna put more?
Listen, in your working class mind, maybe.
No, I'm just curious. You know, like.
I mean, I don't
some
know.
of
In
these
my working
comments,
class mind,
interestingly,
I have no idea.
like where I live, almost has like a lack of corners. The one corner that I had has a giant column in it, like a circular column, right? Like it's a corner that's taunting me. 'Cause it doesn't exist.
Did your family hire Peter Eisenman?
Sorry?
Did your family?
It's typical in our condos. They have columns in the way.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, why do we think this corner needed stuff in it?
I don't know. Like, I can't fathom that because you know, like, in my Canadian Tire sensibilities, I need to store stuff in a 90-degree angle.
I want to bring back the discussion to what's bad and what's good in architecture, and I'm just curious how this is better than what's on the honest head now.
Is this better?
No, it's my reading from this discussion is that you, Jimenez, think very highly of this building.
But I think this is worse.
Oh.
I also I didn't hear him say that in the talk. I don't think you did.
I do think
express
highly
a
of this
position?
building, but I think this is worse.
Worse than honest eds?
Yeah.
So what's your criteria? Now can I ask you that?
Yeah, please.
Okay, what's
Yeah.
your criteria?
Listen, I like space, right? I love architecture. That's all I do. I like material assembly. I like, you know, proportions of compression, expansion. This is all I do. I can't do anything else. You know, and when I see something like this, I am enamored by the craft of their management of proportions, and I can't afford that. At the same time, though, you know, I'm wondering, this is like a, you know, North American plight, where, you know, we are faced with so much more red tapes than some other parts of the world, where, you know, some other, you know, wealth brackets, I don't know what, right? So you're right. I didn't imagine.
No, I'm asking this question because it's in relation to the young kids.
Yeah.
They only ask me, why do you show me this precedent as opposed to the other precedent?
Yeah.
And I think there is this discussion that we need to have in front of them, why this and not that, or
Yeah.
why.
But because, Adrian, you know, like, one thing I can't deny, I don't know how you feel about this, Miles, you know.
I mean, what makes this a precedent?
When it's beautiful, I can't fight it. Right?
The
Right?
incontestable
Persuasion.
the incontestable judgment of beauty. It's
No,
like
like-
being on a jury and having a student do a project that's so good you have nothing to say.
It's so beautiful that you can't fight it. And even though I can fight it, by
But
saying that, you know.
But I
want you to
understand.
push a bit
I
against
mean,
it.
sorry, go on.
No, I mean, I just
Do you
for
think
the
it's
sake of
beautiful?
entertainment.
Do you think it's beautiful? Or great?
I don't know.
You don't know.
I have a
You don't?
complicated relationship
Tell.
with beauty.
Adrian, I know you.
Come on, Baba.
I don't.
No,
Do you really want to say that you don't think this is beautiful?
No, he does. He loves it. Let him say. I know. No. Let him say because maybe he
I
doesn't.
mean, it's such an easy, lazy project.
Do you have a problem with laziness?
Yes, very much.
Because I have a problem with laziness. and I think it's because I suspect I'm lazy.
No,
Oh,
but
we're
no,
all
I'm
lazy.
just saying this is a limited project.
The way maybe I would like think about this project versus like one of your projects, Jimenez, is like, and maybe also this like discussion about good and bad and what's interesting, is like, I understand you and your practice, and you know, as being interested in an eccentric archive, high and low. It's like it's honest ads and it's this.
I'll take everything. Yeah.
And whereas one thing that I would say about this project and Office KGDVS is it's not interested in the low. I don't think.
They're not.
Or its idea of low has been so canonized, it's not low anymore. I mean, that's one distinction that I'll make here. I didn't hear you say that like this is good or Honest Eds was necessarily like great. But
it's actually kind of ugly, Honest Eds.
Yeah. But I think what I think you're more interested in is like that these two projects can exist in the same power board.
That's right.
By the way, when I'm mentioning Honest Eds, I just should have made that clear. I'm referring to the new buildings on the side, the condominium buildings. Those ones versus this one, as opposed to old Honest Eds, which I don't think we should care about.
But could we say, we're now, we have entered into a moment of incredible, say, particularism. Like, this is an incredibly particular project.
It is gorgeous.
No, I'm not.
You don't think so?
No, actually, there's something repulsive to me about it.
Really?
For the reasons that you actually specified.
Okay.
Because I think that one of the things that I find, I mean, in the end, we all, it sounds selfish to talk about the personal things, but I think sometimes, to be honest, you have to get more personal.
Like Ed?
Well, I don't think Ed was any. I mean, saying that you're honest, Ed doesn't make you honest. It's just a marketing ploy.
Yeah.
It's like he's a huckster.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I think that in a way, you think about what the modernist project of architecture was. It was trying to establish paradigms for a broad populace that would be shared by many. And part of what is beautiful, even often when it failed, even when it was misguided, was the ambition to provide, for instance, a model for housing and living that was designed for something that was thought of as a broad modern population. This is not. And in that respect, it's not, to me, so beautiful as a less beautiful, like, say, Korb project, because I don't know whether it's the Karachet House or Savoy. They were always thought of as paradigms. This is not a paradigm for anything. This
Rob,
is a one-off.
I have to ask you. Do you like Villa de Lava?
Kind of, but I mean, and Villa d'Avola is, to my mind, still more paradigmatic than this. Much more.
I love Villa de Lava.
Okay.
Much more than this.
Well, me too. But I think part of it is because it feels paradigmatic. And the thing about this and some of Herzog Imran's very unique houses, which are very extraordinary, whether it's like the Stone Villa from decades ago or other more recent ones, is that they're incredibly particularist.
Yeah.
And it's great. They're like little works of art. And in a way, I want to say, like, who gives a shit? This rich person can afford to make this incredibly particular villa for themselves. Palladio's villas were not that way. I mean, they represented a paradigm for a new Veneto class of people. These don't, because today, particularism is a kind of a signal and carrier of class identity. It's not you trying to establish a paradigm of class. The paradigm of class is uniqueness, hyper individualization. And it has no ramification other than the employment of architects who will serve incredibly particular design goals.
Yeah.
And who gives a shit?
No, I know. I mean, Rob, I also again, I'm really curious about the younger generation, right?
Could I bring up the Prime Minister's house?
That we should demolish it.
You want to talk about 24 Sussex?
24 Sussex.
Did you see Peter Seeley's?
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
and I
great.
think
Very
it
good.
touches on some of the topics that the talk is about, because we expect our Prime Minister to be not too wealthy, but very powerful,
Yeah.
and the House to represent that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And there is the very simple argument that the economic argument that it should be just an efficient build house that satisfies the bodily function of the Prime Minister and their family, and that's it.
Oh, the
And-
ceremonial function too.
Right, and hosting and having somewhat good food, but not too good food. and there are some people that are pro Speaker's Corner, just having a random gallery at the ground floor of that house as an argument for how the Prime Minister's house should have a public function for the public, and people's money, the public's money is going through that. And I think for any house we can make, I guess, Adrian's argument that it doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not, it's the consequence of the time, or it is what it is, or I don't know, architecture is just dead trees and bricks
I
and
know, but that's not exactly what you're saying. Is that Adrian?
I feel like you can push that argument
But I
to
inspired.
Hey, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but
Gia.
So
but that building matters. I think if you can say that any other Canadian building doesn't matter, that building matters. And I guess I would like to hear what is the case for architecture for 24 Sussex.
Yeah.
That's a-
no, I like this because let's talk about the architecture of propaganda, right? The aesthetics of power versus the aesthetics of modesty. Because Canadian politics is the aesthetics of politics. Of modesty, right? How do you express modesty through architecture, if not what you're talking about right now? How do you express power in oppressive, however Mussolini did it? I find this so interesting, right?
But benign modesty, malignant ego.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Exactly.
But I mean, it would be a great
Yeah.
studio project, Gia. Like, you should teach that studio at Daniels,
I mean, that is one of the most messed up forms of propaganda by expressing modesty.
Which is very Canadian.
Well, I mean, we don't know what it looks like yet. I mean, or I'd love to. There's 6 different ways to do that.
Can I ask a timing question?
What?
What's the mood? The timing
Yeah.
question.
What?
Time.
Time.
Because Andrea is outside. He's doing something with fire. There's also the energy of the conversation. I don't want to end it, but I'm just trying to collectively agree on a curve to land.
Why don't we take it outside with a glass of wine and
I
it
love
comes
that.
with
I love that. I love
Thinking
that.
about
I love that.
Guys, thank you so much.
Thank you both. It was really good.
Really
Thank
good.
you so much.
Really
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you.